session earlier today at the White House. Meanwhile, overseas, the Palestinian armed group said it had handed over the body of Miss Babis, along with her 2 young children, and another man. Israel said forensic testing found the remains were not hers. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Harley Lippman, foreign policy expert back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Mr. Lippman. Welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you for having me back.
I am almost at a loss of words. I don't even know where to begin with regard to what has happened with regard to handing over the body along with her 2 children, forensic tests conducted to determine that's actually not the case. What's the latest with this?
Well, you actually summed it up well to say you're at a loss of words, because it's hard to think of anything more cruel and barbaric than this. I mean, you know, we have to take a step back and understand what happened. You had an 8-month-old child and a 4-year-old child and the mother and the father, and they brutally kidnapped them, ripping the child out of the arms of the mother, bringing them into Gaza, and putting them through who knows what kind of torture, abuse that they went through. These people hate them so much, and they lie. You know, Hamas has said they were killed by Israeli airstrikes. Well, there's now been a forensic test in Israel. I hope Israel opens it up to the world for forensic testing, so there's no doubt. And they were murdered. They were strangled to death. An 8-month-old child and a 4-year-old child, 2 redheaded little children, for the simple crime of being Jewish.
Wow.
This is a scary thing. And then, you know, what adds to it, I have to tell you, which is so distressing, is that they were spotted in Gaza because they were not taken by Hamas. Hamas made up maybe about 70%, 60 to 70% of the thousands and thousands of people that crossed over the border and invaded Israel. There were thousands of ordinary Palestinians in Gaza who followed these Hamas terrorists to rob Israeli homes, to rape, and to commit murder. And so it was these civilians that brought them back into Gaza, and they were spotted walking down the street many times in Gaza barefoot, because they're redheaded, the mother and the 2 children, so they're very easily observable. Yet what I'm building up to is, what's incredible is not one person went to contact the Red Cross or Israel to say, I saw them and they're here. I'm not aware of any Palestinian showing any compassion to these children or any hostage. And what makes it so striking is that when you think of the Holocaust, during the Holocaust, even the darkest days, there were people that were called righteous Gentiles, Christians, who risked their lives to save Jews. You had many of those, and those people are honored in Israel. But in Gaza, there's not an example of not one righteous Palestinian. So sad and so frightening, their hatred. In many respects, they are truly worse than the Nazis. And I think we're all in shock and horror to be living now and experiencing this inhumanity.
Mr. Lippman, I just want to make sure I'm clear. Are you stating that you feel that way about all Palestinians or Hamas?
Well, here's what I will say. Certainly it's true of Hamas, but Palestinian culture is a culture that seems to, lack accountability and compassion as a culture for others. I say lack accountability. They went to war against Israel. They wanted to destroy Israel. They lost. They act like, you know, there's no consequences to that. They tried to destroy Israel. When Israel was created, the United Nations said there's Israel and a Palestinian nation. Israel was okay with that. The Palestinians and the Arab world was not. And 5 Arab armies invaded Israel to destroy Israel. This is a fact. So why I say that is, they want all or nothing. They want to destroy all of Israel. Israel is willing to live with a Palestinian society, with a Palestinian nation. So I think this inability to live with consequences in terms of losing wars, turning down many opportunities to have their own nation. Bill Clinton was going to give them a nation in the West Bank where they would have had 98% of their land back, East Jerusalem is their capital, and huge financial aid, and they said no. Because the sad, sad, ugly truth is that the Palestinians want all of Israel, and they want to murder each and every Israeli woman, child. And this is what was showing. You know, when you think about what again, when Hamas crossed the border and thousands of Palestinians followed them to rape and loot, as I mentioned earlier, the other hostage that was returned is a man named Oded, 84 years old. And you know what he was? He was a peace activist. Now, what does that mean? He would go to Gaza on his own nickel, on his own expenses, and take Palestinians who had cancer, brought them to Israeli hospitals to be treated for free in Israel. And this man was murdered as well. 84-year-old grandfather. I don't know how you could give a better example of evil and of genocide and of exterminationist policy of the Palestinians to Israel. And Palestinians need to take responsibility. They elected Hamas, the way Germans had to take responsibility for electing Hitler. And again, and for a lack of compassion, I think there's something very fundamentally wrong with Palestinian society. And partly it's because they've been brainwashed for 80 years to hate Jews. And this is what you get. Even Germans were brainwashed for 10 years. The Nazis took power for 10 years before the Holocaust began. So I don't know. I used to be hopeful. I used to believe in a two-state solution. I don't see that anymore. I don't see how you could come to terms and make peace with people who hate you and want to kill you like that. I don't see that. I don't see how that's possible.
Which leads me to my next question, and that is obviously tensions yet again very high, especially after what just happened. Will the ceasefire, as a result of this, in your mind, remain in place?
I don't see it. I think, and I hope that Israel knows that the only way you're going to have resolution here is to decisively and utterly crush Hamas the way America and our allies did to Hitler in World War II. That's how you have closure, and you have to get Hamas to surrender and be defeated. And then you could talk about reconstruction and turning Gaza into a Singapore and uplifting the Palestinians, if you will. But I don't see the ceasefire lasting because I think Hamas will break it. And I think Israel has to go in and destroy this hate to keep using this word evil. I don't know what other word to use, but they just need to be destroyed once and for all.
Mr. Lippman, I got about 2 minutes left, and I want to pose this question before we go, and that is, we know that President Trump time and time again has stated that he would like to relocate the Palestinian people out of the Gaza Strip. A number of Arab countries stating, no way, we don't want that. Yet again, with what happened, do you think that may very well be the case, that the Palestinians will be removed from that territory?
I think that President Trump is brilliant in this plan because I think this is what sounds like the best option. There is no other good option. If you look at Gaza now, in most of Gaza, there's no running water, no sewage, no electricity. Most of the homes and buildings are destroyed and in rubble. There's thousands of booby traps everywhere. Where do you want the Palestinians to live and under what conditions? Everybody gets upset. Oh, you can't move them away. Well, what are you dooming them to? Years and years of living in unbelievable poverty and suffering like that. It's not even livable. So I think this represents the best solution. We haven't seen a better one in 70 years. Let someone come up with a better idea. But I think this is where President Trump is a visionary, and visionaries see things before anyone else does. So right now, a lot of people are upset about it. They say, how can you do that? But I think this actually is better for the Palestinian people, ultimately, because Gaza now is just unlivable. It's inhospitable, and I don't see any solution there right now. And if there's a better one, well, let's embrace it.
Obviously, what we all want is peace within that region. Yet again, we have been speaking with Mr. Harley Lippman, foreign policy expert, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Know you're busy, sir. Thank you so much for taking time out today to join us.
Anytime. Thank you again.
All right, guys. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.